Welcome back, everybody. This is Dennis Prager, and I'm speaking with Professor Daniel Dennett, D-E-N-N-E-T-T. The book, Breaking the Spell, Religion is a Natural Phenomenon. Professor Dennett is a professor of philosophy at Tufts University and is a major secular writer and thinker. So we were at the point where you yourself, to your credit, acknowledged that the heavy moral lifting has been done by largely religious people and religious groups.
That's right, and it's true in this country, and it's true in the Middle East too.
And it's to your credit to acknowledge that. So the question I ask you is a pragmatic one, not a philosophical one. Just pragmatically, do you not fear that the breakdown of good religion will lead to nothingness, to nihilism, or just moral laziness?
In fact, I do. I am afraid that the conflicts between religions or the breakdowns of religions might really turn the world into a madhouse. And that's why I wrote the book, because I said this is too important a phenomenon just to shoot from the hip about what we should do about it. Before we do anything about religion, about Islam or about some strains of Christianity or some wild strains of Judaism or Hinduism or any other religion, we should study all religions much more carefully before we start tinkering with them. Something's got to be done. This century is in perilous shape, and religion is contributing one way or another, and we don't know which way yet to the perils. And if we're going to understand them and take plausible policy steps, we need to understand what holds religion have on people and how they got that way.
Mm-hmm. Well, what would you
agree
like?
With that, don't you?
I'm sorry?
I say you would agree with that.
I have no problem at all. The only problem I have is what would you, well, I'm not sure I have any, but I would like to know, what would you like to see happen?
I would like to see an intense investigation of religion with the cooperation of religious people of all faiths, so that we can get a handle on what religions are, what they're becoming.
All right, but what is the ultimate goal? It's not purely a pedagogic goal. What would you like the goal to be?
I think the goal that I would like to see is that we find ways of minimizing the toxic forms of religion that we see around the world that you've mentioned and that I agree exist, and maximizing the benign.
Oh, how interesting. We have a very similar, if that truly is your goal, we have an almost identical one.
Well, I'm sure, I think we do. That's why I wrote the book.
Well,
let me give you my one. I have just one prescription to do right now before we've done any more research, because I'm pretty sure this one will help in any case. And I wonder if you agree with it. And that is, I think we should have a national curriculum from primary school through high school on world religions, on the facts about all the religions of the world, and that whether you're a homeschooler or go to private school or go to public school, this is the fourth R, the history of world religions.
The problem with that is this. It's like somebody once said about an accountant for a very wealthy man. The accountant gets to study the wealthy man's money, but he doesn't get to spend it. When the secular teach religion, I am no more sanguine or optimistic about how good a job they will do than you are if secularism were taught at a church.
Actually, I agree that a lot of the teaching would be half-hearted at best and maybe even counterproductive at worst. But I'm prepared to tolerate that. I'm prepared to let, for instance, homeschoolers tell their children, what I'm now going to teach you is all a load of rubbish. And all the people all around the world that believe these things are foolish, and they're all going to die, and they're all going to burn in hell, but you've got to learn this anyway because you're going to have to take a test. Even under those conditions, I think...
All right. Look, I'm not going to argue against people studying world religion. It was one of the things I studied, and I benefited immensely from it.
And don't you think? Let me ask you just one question about it.
Mm-hmm.
I think my hypothesis is that in a world where children have to learn about other religions, it's very hard for the toxic forms of religion to take hold. that enforced
Right. You
ignorance
know what
of
I
children
worry?
is probably the greatest problem we have.
What is the greatest problem? I'm sorry.
The enforced ignorance of children.
Oh, yeah. Well, the ignorance is not ignorance of facts. That is the primary problem. As I said, everybody knows about Darfur. It's the lack of moral will and moral clarity. But we're not that far apart on that. But the problem is the good people will study other religions, and the folks who do toxic form of religion will not study other religions. So it's somewhat of a utopian hope on your part.
We let homeschoolers teach their kids whatever they want, but they do have to teach them reading, writing, and arithmetic, and they're held accountable.
I was talking about, we don't really have toxic form of religion here. I was talking about the real toxicity that we mentioned earlier.
Sure, we have toxic forms of religion. We have bizarre sects of people that treat their children badly and treat women badly
name one. Name one. I mean, outside of somebody who drinks Kool-Aid.
That's one.
No, but that's minuscule.
The fact is, there's lots of them.
You might as well talk about secularism as breeding the killers at Columbine and the recent ones in Kansas and Alaska who wanted to kill kids. I mean, I can't talk. It's not worth talking about infinitesimally small groups. I got a question to ask you. You will enjoy this as a professor of philosophy. I have asked this my entire public speaking life, which goes back to my early 20s, oddly enough. I have asked this to high school seniors and now to adults. And here it is. Imagine your pet that you love and a stranger are both drowning. Which would you try? I know you want to save both. Which would you try to save first? In 30 years of asking this, I have gotten the same exact response. 1/3 vote for their pet, 1/3 for the stranger, and 1/3 doesn't know. It's too difficult for them to decide. I would like you to give me a non-religious based response on why the stranger should be saved before the dog or cat or hamster or what have you. I don't think there is any. We'll be back in a moment. Final segment coming up with Daniel Dennett, professor of philosophy at Tufts, his book, Breaking the Spell, and I'm Dennis Prager. Final segment here with Professor Daniel Dennett, Dennett. The book, Breaking the Spell, Religion is a Natural Phenomenon, a leading secular philosopher. He is a professor of philosophy at Tufts University. Okay, so I gave you a few minutes there to answer my question. As I said, I have posed this for 30 years. And that is, if your pet that you love and a stranger were both drowning, which would you try to save first? And 2/3 of high school seniors have consistently voted against the stranger. Their argument being, I love my dog, I love my cat, but I don't love the stranger. And I have argued that this is a classic example of where religion is necessary, because I would save the stranger before the dog I love only because I believe that human beings are created in God's image and cats and dogs are not. But if I were to be animated by love, I would save my dog.
Well, there's a whole secular tradition in philosophy that would agree with your verdict, but not with your reason, that say that only human beings are persons. Persons are potential moral agents. They are the only ones that have rights and obligations. They're potential members of the moral community in a way that no other animal can be. And that's been argued for eloquently and famously for several centuries by secular people in ethics.
You and I know that it's really failing, because the academic world now, with Professor Singer at Princeton, argues that humans and animals are essentially equivalent.
Professor Singer is a brave, iconoclastic philosopher who does not have the support of most of his profession.
Well, he certainly... Well, then forget him. Just imagine PETA, whose last program was Holocaust on Your Plate, saying that there's no difference between barbecuing chickens and cremating the Jews in the Holocaust.
Well, I don't know that PETA said that, but
They do say that.
And I think...
by the way, you should know, and with all respect, and I mean this respectfully, as a professor of philosophy and living in this society, you should know what such an organization is teaching.
Well, I haven't heard that latest bit from them, and if they've said that, that's appalling, and I don't agree at all.
But
I've always maintained. In fact, this is a big part of my work. If you read my work on consciousness, I've always maintained that human consciousness is entirely distinct from the consciousness even of chimpanzees and other mammals, and that it is what makes possible our moral freedom in a way that no other animal is free, and that our moral responsibilities and obligations and rights flow from the freedom that has evolved in our species and in our species only. It's
right.
an entirely naturalistic account.
Well, it's a leap of faith like mine is. That's what
no, it isn't.
Yeah. All right. In any event, look, I'm thrilled you believe that. Let's put it this way. Mm-hmm. It's been a total delight, Professor Dennett.
I've been delighted to talk with you.
Thank you very much. The book, again, is Breaking the Spell. When you want to know of the good religion, I believe it's the Judeo-Christian values made in America, the best moral system ever devised. I'm Dennis Prager.